Hello, everyone. My name is Mariah Contino, and today I'll be talking about the American Association for Marriage and Family Therapy, or the AAMFT, and their social justice and advocacy efforts. So I thought it'd be good to start off with their mission statement. A lot of what they do comes from this foundation. So it's recognizing that relationships are fundamental to the health and well being of individuals, couples, families, and communities. The AAMFT exists to advance the profession and the practice of marriage and family therapy. And you will see throughout the presentation a lot of these efforts um, could go in multiple of these categories. And I would say it's because social justice, advocacy, and diversity and inclusion efforts, they usually go hand in hand. And so you could see where these could fit. So, first up is social justice joining forces. This is an initiative supported by the AAMFT in partnership with the White House and other healthcare organizations. And they have the common goal to increase the education and training of MFTs, or marriage and family therapists, and other providers in specifically post traumatic stress disorder, traumatic brain injury, and military culture in general. And so on this page of the joining forces, um, you can find links to information, training, resources that are available to providers that are or aspire to work with service members, veterans, and their families. There's also links to resources for the Department of Defense and Department of Veterans Affairs. The AAMFT also links information on how to become a TRICARE provider, which is the program that provides health care to active duty members and families of the Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force, and Coast Guard, as well as retirees and their families. There's also links to job opportunities in the military and for the VA, or Veterans Affairs. Next, racial justice. The AAMFT doesn't necessarily, excuse me, doesn't necessarily have specific programs, but what they do instead is they focus on competency, right? So the AAMFT encourages the MFT community to have quote unquote authentic dialogue on race and trauma. And according to the AAMFT, MFTs recognize, or should recognize, the effects that oppression, inequity, and racism have on individuals in marginalized communities, and that they have a role in fostering healing and change. So, one way that the AAMFT, or AAMFT, encourages this, again, is by recommending and linking journals and articles specifically written by therapists of color and their experiences and or research in their journey of becoming or continuing to grow in their MFT role. They also have articles about how to counter racism, how to support therapists of color. They also have anti racist resources and some self care resources for persons of color, whether it's client or therapist. Next is the Gender Affirming Care Guidelines. So, the Queer and Trans Advocacy Network, which is a topical interest network of the AAMFT, released gender affirming care guidelines for working systemically with transgender, non binary, and gender expansive clients for marriage and family therapists, or MFTs. So, this guide was created by majority transgender, non-binary, and or gender expansive clinicians and scholars, and offers practical approaches to clinical work and supervision. It also provides best practices for working systemically with trans, non-binary, and/or gender expansive clients, and includes key terminology and additional resources for MFTs to provide ethical and inclusive care. And on this page of the AAMFT, you can get a free copy of these guidelines. Next is transgender resources for MFTs. According to the AAMFT, they recognize the adverse effects of anti-transgender legislation on the livelihood of the transgender and gender diverse community, and believe that MFTs have an active and affirming role with transgender and gender diverse clients, supporting them throughout their journey of self-discovery, self-acceptance, and transition. So the AAMFT provides resources with data, standards of care, and guidelines. They also link other organizations, learning materials, and some articles from the AAMFT magazine. So for the social justice part of this, primarily the AAMFT provides resources to increase competency. So journals, research, the AAMFT magazine, webinars, their podcasts. There are resources that are different branches of the AAMFT, and there are resources that they link that are accessed through their partners or partnerships. Next, we have advocacy. The AAMFT has this committee called the Political Action Committee, or PAC, or PAC for short. It is a voluntary committee that advocates for the MFT profession by contributing financially to congressional candidates who support MFT issues and MFT initiatives. Next is the AAMFT Practice Protection Fund. The purpose of this protection fund is to fund work relating specifically to threats to the profession, such as legal and lobbying expenses. It can also be utilized for major initiatives and to advance the practice and scope of practice legally. Next, we have the Family Team, which is the AAMFT's grassroots advocacy network made up of MFT volunteers, and they work to further the MFT policy legislation interests. So for example, one of the biggest initiatives of the AAMFT was for the government to recognize MFTs and get reimbursed for Medicare, and that was achieved in 2022. According to the AAMFT, the overarching purpose of the Family Team is increasing AAMFT membership awareness and activity in AAMFT advocacy. The AAMFT blog has articles on advocacy initiatives specifically of the Family Team. Lastly, we have federal and state advocacy. The AAMFT continues to monitor federal and state legislation and policies that affect the marriage and family therapy profession. Like I mentioned before, MFTs as Medicare providers was one of their biggest priorities, and that was achieved in 2022. The AAMFT does encourage its members to contact Congress on federal issues, and same thing goes for state advocacy, just reaching out to legislators. Some of their top priorities at the moment are license portability and strategic portability efforts. Lastly, we have diversity and inclusion. So the first one is the Minority Fellowship Program, and this is a program in partnership with the Foundation of the Advancement of Human Systems. And it was created to increase the number of culturally competent MFTs. And their main goal is to expand the delivery of culturally competent mental health and substance abuse services to underserved minority populations. Next is the Tenio online continuing education. Pretty straightforward. This is where MFTs can find webinars or trainings on a variety of subjects and gain those continuing education credits. Lastly, the AAMFT encourages its members to attend conferences. So, first is the Systemic Family Therapy Conference. This is basically the AAMFT's annual conference, and it is focused on holistic development of professionals. They believe in growth, not just professionally, but also personally for their therapists. They also encourage members to attend the international family therapy conferences, such as the Asian Academy of Family Therapy and the Association for Family Therapy in the UK, which is a virtual conference. Excuse me. And those are their efforts. These are the resources I used. I just used their website. But again, this is how the AAMFT engages and promotes social justice, advocacy, and working with diverse identities. If you have any questions, you can I think you can comment on the post. I'm not sure. But thank you for listening.